He stood still at the edge of the classroom, his back almost touching the wall, his eyes scanning the room, but not with judgment or fear. Just awareness. He was there, yet not there. The chaos of laughter, gossip, and jokes filled the air like smoke, but none of it touched him. His name was Arav. 16 years old. Soft-spoken. Always neatly dressed, but his clothes showed wear. His shoes were clean but old. His books were filled with notes, highlighted corners, small folds. He didn't talk much, not because he couldn't, but because he had already learned that not everything needs a reaction. In a world that rewards noise, Arav chose silence. Not the silence of weakness, but the silence of strength. The kind that makes people uncomfortable because they don't understand it. Arav hadn't always been this way. Once, he'd been a cheerful, chatty child, full of questions and dreams. But then life happened too early, too hard. When Arav was 10, his father, once the backbone of the house, walked out one morning. No fight. No goodbye. Just a cigarette pack left on the table and a half-finished cup of tea. Arav waited at the door for hours, thinking maybe his father had just gone to get milk. But evening came. Then night. And silence replaced a father. His mother didn't explain. She just started working longer. Stitching clothes for neighbors, taking on every little job she could. Her fingers stitched faster than her mouth moved. Their house became quiet. But that silence taught Arav something: resilience begins when noise ends. By the time he reached high school, Arav had become the silent boy. He was invisible in the crowd, not because he wasn't smart, but because he didn't shout about it. He observed. He absorbed. And he planned. While others competed to speak, he chose to listen. But silence comes at a price. He was mocked. "Hey mute boy, lost your tongue?" Some laughed behind his back. Some in front of him. Teachers thought he lacked confidence. Classmates thought he lacked spirit. But he stayed silent. Every night, he studied while his mother dozed off beside a sewing machine. Sometimes, she'd murmur in her sleep names, memories, bits of broken dreams. He never woke her. He knew her silence was heavier than his. Then came the day he was cornered. 3 seniors, furious that their results were overshadowed by the quiet one, blocked him after school. "You think you're smart, huh? Too proud to talk to us?" Arav stood still. No fear. No arrogance. Just stillness. "Say something, damn it," one shouted, shoving him. But Arav simply looked them in the eyes. And didn't blink. They stepped back. Somehow, his silence screamed louder than any threat they could throw. They walked away, unsettled. That was the day he realized something powerful. People fear silence more than rage. Because silence makes them face themselves. Years passed. Arav cracked entrance exams that others feared to even attempt. He got into a top engineering college on scholarship. But even there, among the brightest minds, he remained the quiet one. He spoke only when needed. But when he did, people listened. While others chased internships, Arav built things. Late nights in the lab. Research papers, prototypes, sketches. In his final year, he created something extraordinary: a low-cost, AI-powered prosthetic arm made from recycled materials. It wasn't flashy. It didn't have a grand presentation. But it worked. And it had the power to change lives. At the College Tech Fest, he stood before the judges. He explained his project in a few quiet, confident sentences. But the panel wasn't impressed. They were distracted by louder, more flamboyant presenters with buzzwords and sleek slides. Arav didn't argue. He just packed up and walked away. A week later, sitting with his mother, sharing tea on the floor of their modest home, he submitted his project to a global innovation challenge. It was a quiet moment, no drama, no expectations. 2 months passed. One evening, an email arrived. The company not only loved his idea, but they wanted to fund and mass produce it. They offered him a job, a lab, and a full development team. His prosthetic could reach thousands who couldn't afford medical-grade limbs. He didn't scream. He didn't cry. He just showed the email to his mother, and for the first time in years, she let the tears fall freely. In their silence, there was thunder. At his college farewell, they asked him to speak. It was a packed auditorium. All eyes on the boy who never spoke unless it mattered. He walked up. Calm. Unshaken. And he said, "Most of my life, I've been quiet. Not because I had nothing to say, but because I was listening. I was observing. I was preparing. You see, not every noise is a voice. Not every loud person is right. And not every silent person is lost. In silence, I found focus. In silence, I discovered strength. And today, I stand here not because I shouted louder, but because I chose not to shout at all. Let your success speak. Let your work echo. And when you speak, make sure the world listens, not because you're loud, but because your silence was worth the wait." The hall stood still for a moment. Then applause thundered, echoing through the very walls where he had once been invisible. Years later, Arav would go on to build an organization that created life-changing devices for people across India. He stayed away from the spotlight, always letting the impact speak for him. In an interview, when asked, "Why don't you talk more about your success?" he smiled gently and replied, "Because I'm still listening." Moral: silence is not emptiness. It is preparation. It is power. And when you let it lead you, success doesn't just arrive, it echoes.